Authenticity. That spells authenticity. Yes, authenticity. What is authenticity? Right? What a great question to start this happy Halloween day, right? This is authenticity. I think this is the best example of authenticity. What is this, right? I mean, I am showing up as my true authentic self today. I love Halloween. I love dressing up. And it's really easy, saying, well, I'm not working in schools anymore, and to choose not to show up to my coaching calls with my clients like this and come on live and be in my costume, but then I wouldn't be myself. It's funny. Like, I work in schools, and right, previously worked in schools, and you have Halloween, you have pajama day, even closer to Christmas. Like, I actually went out and bought an elf's pajama, like full piece pajama, to go and deliver hot chocolate to students. Because that's who I am, right? Like, it's being the kid inside, bringing the joy, bringing the light and the life. And how many of you find yourselves dimming your light, right? Dimming the joy that you bring, or not really feeling like you can truly operate from who you are, right? You get stopped by the fear of judgment, the fear of what will people think of you, right? Like, I have this, looking good nerd, right? I like to look good. I mean, and yeah, I still look, the hair and all that stuff, and I still get to show up being me in my hot Halloween costume. And I just realized, right? Like, look, I was talking about looking good. I just realized I have an earpiece in my ear from from my phone, right? So I love this. Like, these 2 days in a row, I've sourced like something happened, and then I'm realizing it's like, about that. And look, I could have done this whole life leaving that earpiece in my ear, right? The thing is, authenticity. Like, this is a word that I heard so much in leadership. I mean, it's even in my definition of being an irresistible, bold leader, right? Like, so bold, defining itself as being outrageously loving and daring. And the authenticity piece fits into that whole outrageous piece, right? Being you. And then the loving piece, because you're honoring who you are. You're not needing to put on any masks to show up as someone who you're not. You are giving yourself permission to be you. It's interesting. As I logged onto Facebook, I actually saw a good friend of mine share a post about her really owning her name, right? Her name. And that was actually a big thing for me in the leadership space. All these nicknames, like my professional name is Alex Leanne, and then people, like friends and close to me, call me Allie, and family. And yet in the leadership space, it was always my first name, which was Alex. And I remember being called on, and it took me a while to process that it was me, right? Because nobody called me by my first name. Right? I got called by Madame Carter, Madame Chrome. I have all these nicknames, but not a lot of people actually called me by my first name. And so it's very interesting to see that, how I would pause and hesitate and even say, like, oh, are you talking to me? Because it just wasn't that natural thing of responding to that. And so thinking about you and being authentic and who you are, like, how do you define yourself? And where do you notice you do hold yourself back? Where do you notice that you do go into, this analysis paralysis, or the psychological assessment of like analyzing and working through how you show up, or something you might say, or how people will judge you, or will they accept you, and will they love you? And where does that show up and stop you from really being your true authentic self, right? We might hear this word a lot out there, but really, even this morning, I was having a discussion with a client about what does authenticity actually mean? And it's very possible that when you were a child, you heard things like, that basically would say, like, impeded on your authentic self. So for example, you're too much, you're too loud, settle down, you're such a blank, right? Or you're gonna embarrass me, or like, you'd hear a lot of things probably from most likely your parents, or maybe even teachers, or around you, that created these imprints these recordings in your subconscious that play without you even realizing it today. And so when you're out there and or you're with people, I mean, this can happen even just like being in a relationship with somebody, with friends, or even, with children, right? Like you're getting to know other parents, that you have this tape, right? That's playing in the back of your mind automatically, that's stopping you from actually being yourself. That's stopping you from creating true connection, which is actually what our today's podcast is all about: connection and creating 10 out of 10 relationships. I will drop the link there to check out our latest podcast episode. But to really create that, because when you have these real connected relationships and you're able to be your true self and just, right? Like, I mean, free. The word is coming to me is free, right? Which is beautiful because it also ties into the name of the children's book that I have drafted, is that when you are truly you, when you truly attune to your authentic self, you are giving yourself permission to be yourself and not have this internal chatter of like, will I be liked? Will I be loved? Will I be accepted? Will people think I'm good enough? Which is the default of what your brain is going to do. I mean, that's what your brain is scanning for constantly. Your brain's constantly scanning of, are you safe? Are you worthy? Are you loved? Are you good enough? Right? Right? So it's like, are you safe? Are you secure? Are you loved? Are you accepted? Are you worthy? Are you good enough? Right? Like those are like the three categories it goes through. And so if you have these stories, right, of when you were a child and you were yourself, you were your fun loving self, you loved to dress up, you like, it didn't have to be Halloween to dress up. If you wanted to, I see Abby, like she's got a Disney princess dress, and someday she'll wake up and say, I want to wear my Disney princess dress to school, right? And it's in my head, it's like, oh, but it's not, and for me as a parent to be surrendered to that, like if you want to wear your Disney princess to dress to school, go ahead. If you want to wear your pajamas to school, go ahead. Like, it's so fascinating. And those of you that have young children, I'm assuming, right? Like just like me, you become so much more attuned to what is going on internally, right? This internal chatter of, again, what will other people think of you, right? What will people think of me as a parent if I let my kid wear a costume to school or wear their pajamas to school? And it's like, does it really matter? Because what's most important is that my kid's happy. What's the most important is that you're happy. And if dressing up in a Halloween costume makes you happy, you get to be happy. But where do you hold yourself back? Where do you stop? Where do you let the fears and the what is fears, like the fears of the judgment or the not being accepted and not being loved and the fear of rejection show up and stop you from really being you? From really being you, the true you. And I'd love for you to share in the chat, like some things where you notice you hold yourself back. Sometimes maybe spend all this time in the mirror trying to make sure everything's perfect, right? Because you want to look good. You want people to accept you. You want people to maybe compliment you on your costume, your hair, your dress, your clothing, right? Like, this is something to be mindful of, because just like me, looking to receive the external validation of how good enough you are or how good your style is, right? And it feels good, right? I've talked about this a lot this week about the dopamine, right? The serotonin, the oxytocin, like all these feel good chemicals, right? It's the neuro cocktail of what feels good, what drives us. But here's the thing, right? If we receive compliments for how we dress, then we are probably going to be more mindful of that. We're going to put more time and effort into how we dress so that we go get more compliments, right? And so though, yes, it can lead to really feel good chemicals, it can also create this unhealthy loop that you find yourself on, because now you're looking externally for the validation versus looking internally, right? Looking at yourself. Looking at, how do I get to bring joy to me today? Not based on everybody else, but me. And so, because it is Halloween, maybe it is that what's going to bring you joy today is going to put on a Halloween costume. Going to put on, some ears or something. Maybe paint your face. Maybe, I don't know, put on some lipstick. put on something in your closet that you haven't worn in a while. And because it's fascinating. Like even just talking to adults, I mean, for me, it's like a no-brainer that I dress up on Halloween. And so sometimes for me, I think it's a no-brainer. Everybody's going to dress up for Halloween. And yet it's so fascinating to see how it's not a no-brainer for everybody. How it's like, well, like the story is, oh, it's just for kids, right? And so that's just a beautiful example again of what is the story? What's the cassette playing in the back of your mind, the subconscious, that's impacting the decision you're gonna take today to dress up or not dress up, the action to dress up or not dress up, and result to dress up or not dress up, as an example for today and Halloween. But then how else does this play for you in every day of your life, in moments, like even if it is when you're gonna go live, or go into a room to speak to somebody, or send a message to somebody. Like are you overthinking things that you're saying because again of of what's on the other side of that, right? Are you afraid that you'll be judged? Are you afraid that you'll not look good? Are you afraid that you'll get rejected? Are you afraid, right? Like it's that's what's running the show. But when we give ourselves permission to be our true authentic self, to lead from love, to lead from what's in our heart, then, well, I want to say that none of that happens, but I mean, it's still happening in the subconscious, but you can hijack it by going into your conscious, right? To be intentional. So the decisions that you make, the actions you take, the results you generate come from that intentionality of what you want to create today. I spoke about this a few days ago, right? About leading your day with intention, not just about having the to-do list, but really leading in your day with intention. What do you want to create today? Who do you want to be? And when you lean into those ways of being, your authenticity comes out. When you lead with connection, you're being authentic. When you lead with joy, you're being authentic, right? And just how much freeing does that feel when you can lead with authenticity? When you can lead being unapologetically you and not letting the subconscious hijack all the decisions that you get to make. So I love to hear from you. Drop in the chat. What is one decision you're going to make today to be the true authentic you? Maybe it is to dress up for Halloween. And what is the intention behind that? What is the way of being, the intentionality you're creating by who you be, right? And what you're going to show up as. So drop the link. Check out our latest podcast episode on relationships. Oh my goodness, Eric is absolutely amazing. And this is a must listen episode. And I will see you guys all tomorrow. Happy Friday. No, tomorrow's Friday. Today's Thursday. Happy Halloween. Bye.